1 year of the pandemic, looking back and looking forward. Congress passes the stimulus. Checks could start hitting your bank account next week. And your teenager's favorite video game platform, now the hottest new stock on Wall Street. Thursday Need to Know. Let's go. Good morning. This is Cheddar's Need to Know podcast for Thursday, March 11th. I am Jill Wagner with Carlo Versano. Carlo, good morning.
Good morning to you, Jill. You know, we got so much feedback yesterday, maybe the most we've ever gotten in one day. So I just, people wrote in on everything from asking for the vaccine list websites to we had some marketers who were sort of setting us straight on targeted ads, which I thought was really interesting. So if we didn't get back to you, those emails are sitting in our inbox, and we will. And we thank everybody for writing in.
Yeah, I think I responded to most people who asked for the link to Moshe's account. And just a heads up, he just keeps updating it. So if you don't see your state on that bookmarked vaccine finder thing, just kind of keep checking it, because I think as he gets from readers different websites that have been working for them, he just keeps adding them. So hopefully that will help anybody who's still looking for an appointment. Okay, Carlo, 1 year ago today, the following things happened between when we woke up and went to bed. The U.S. crossed 1,000 coronavirus cases with 29 confirmed deaths. A government scientist named Dr. Anthony Fauci, who the public was just getting to know, had warned Congress that the worst is yet to come. The World Health Organization declared a global pandemic. The stock market officially ended its longest bull run in history, and the NBA canceled its season. The president addressed the nation and banned travel from Europe. And Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson tested positive for coronavirus. So we'll probably look back on 3/11 or March 11th as the turning point in this story. So before we get to the news, let's just take a bit of a moment here to commemorate this last year, where we started, where we are now. Incredible.
Was that the last day I saw you? No, because I think we went into the office like a couple more days after that. I think it was a Wednesday, and we went into the office through Friday. But yeah, I mean, it's weird, right? It feels like it was 100 years ago, but also like last week. It's just one of those things, I guess. Just remarkable. This has been just an absolutely remarkable story, biggest story I've ever covered. But, you know, just in terms of looking forward, things really are rapidly improving, and faster than I thought, to be honest. You know, we were Biden's big thing was 100 million shots in 100 days, and a couple months ago we were wondering if we could do that, or if it was if that was too small of a target. We're at 97 million shots, and it's day 50 of his administration. Hospital rates for seniors, I looked this up yesterday, they're down between 80 and 85% since the peak in January. The variants that we've been worried about, I'm not saying they're not out there, and they're not something to worry about, but they haven't translated into a notable spike, at least in the United States yet. And I'm knocking on wood for this whole thing here. However, global cases have started to rise for the second straight week. So you still have to stay vigilant. I'm not saying it's over. And I know that everybody just feels so beaten down, and they don't want to get their hopes up. Like, I totally get that. But we're coming to the end of this, folks. And I think we gotta be emotionally prepared for what that means, and to feel a little good about how far we've come.
Yeah, last year Passover for me was sort of the first holiday everyone did Passover Zooms, like that was the thing. I'm curious what we're going to do this year now that my parents are fully vaccinated, and I have a lot of family members who've been vaccinated. Will we?
I hope you do a Seder. I hope you do a big Seder inside if everyone's been vaccinated. That's amazing. I mean, it's funny, Joe, right? When you think about it, because I was talking to Becky about this last night. We were, when they when Cheddar sent us home, and when Bloomberg sent her home, it was sort of like, all right, we're gonna have to work from home a couple weeks, maybe a month. Like, there was not this idea that this was going to be a prolonged change of the our way of life, right? I don't know if we would have been able to mentally handle it had we known that. But remember what we were thinking. We were like, we have to beat back this curve, and then it'll all be back to normal. and clearly it was not
Well,
exactly didn't go that.
I think for me, it was worse than even I had expected, and I was expecting doom and gloom.
Yeah.
But it got better quicker than I was expecting. Like I did not think we'd be talking in March where we are now, you know, a year later, and we'd have a vaccine, and we'd be talking about getting things back to some semblance of normalcy within the next few weeks, really, you know, or at least the next couple of months. I remember for me, there was an article, I think it was in Time magazine. It was from a doctor in Italy, and he'd written, "We didn't listen to what was going on in China. The United States, please listen to us and what's going on in Italy." And I remember the account of just them figuring out who was going to get the ventilator. The hospitals were so overrun with patients. And remember, at this time, we were still learning about the virus, right? So they were doing hydroxychloroquine. Right. That was like one experimental thing.
Right.
Doctors didn't know how to treat patients who had COVID, so the thinking was just get them on a ventilator. And I remember this doctor's account saying, we don't have enough ventilators. We are literally saying, okay, this person is in her 40s with kids. Should we give her a ventilator over this person who's in their 70s? And it was like this gut-wrenching thing. And I remember thinking, okay, I want to learn. I don't want to make the mistake that Italy made, not listening to what was going on in China. And I was already at this point my fridge was stocked, and my daughter has food allergies, so it complicates everything because I knew in case there were food shortages. But anyway, it feels like a lifetime ago. And as I sit here in the Cheddar studio, I look at desks that are virtually the same as they were a year ago, with like books and notes on them. And I think when people come back to the office, they're just going to be like in shock. I mean, I've been here pretty much the whole time, but you're going to be like, what happened? It's like Pompeii, you know? It's like it's frozen in time.
I think there's still a banana in my desk drawer. It's probably,
all right, I'll go check it out. I've been sitting at your desk, making myself very comfortable there. Meanwhile, the White House announced plans to purchase, as you mentioned, another 100 million doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, and will share excess supply with other countries. The U.S. now expects to have more than enough vaccines for all adults by the end of May. President Biden will be speaking in prime time tonight to mark the anniversary of the pandemic.
So you said something there that I thought was really important, which is that we're going to start sharing excess supply of these vaccines with other countries. This is something that I've been thinking a lot about, and I actually did a hit on this on Cheddar, whenever that was, last week, talking about sort of like vaccine diplomacy. And I know you and I have spoken a little bit about it in terms of Israel, which has been obviously number one. They're doing so good that they're sending excess supplies to countries that they have strategic interest in around the world. And it's this idea of soft power, right? American strength abroad is not bombing Syria, right? It's not invading a Middle Eastern country. What it really is poor folks in a country like Honduras or a country like Ghana getting vaccinated from this deadly disease from a vial that has an American flag on it. You know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of thing that makes this a great country. And we have, sadly, I think, been woefully behind the eight ball in that regard. So I was really happy to see that Biden at least addressing that we're going to start to send our vaccines around the world. You know, we are the top donor to COVAX, which is the World Health Organization's program for getting vaccines to sort of the developing world. But that's not nearly enough, and it's going way too slow. And at the same time, both China and Russia, our two biggest adversaries, are sending their vaccines around the world. And that's just I don't know if that's anything if other people have sort of had that thought, but it's just something I've been sort of thinking about.
Congress has given final approval to the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan Act. President Biden planning to sign that into law tomorrow. The bill, one of the largest economic aid packages in U.S. history, with the support of 70% of Americans, according to Pew. No Republicans in either chamber signed on, pointing to its huge price tag and impact on the already huge deficit. The IRS could start sending out those $1,400 checks as direct deposits as early as next week.
So yesterday was really the kind of day that any president or future president, anybody who dreams of being president, would dream about. Like they couldn't even dream it in their wildest dreams, right? I mean, think about it. Congress passed your economic aid package, one of the biggest ever, while also at the same time confirming your attorney general, who, by the way, couldn't even get a confirmation hearing under your former boss, Merrick Garland. I'm talking about. You tell the American people your administration has gotten another 100 million doses of a life-saving vaccine. The Dow notches a record high, and it all happened before the 50th day of your presidency. I mean, just think about that. And I'm not trying to sound so like sycophantic here, but it's just politically speaking, it's fairly remarkable what this administration has been able to pull off in its first what, month and a half. And look, maybe the stimulus is too big. Maybe it'll cause problems down the road. It's certainly possible. But for right now, it's a huge win, both for the people who need help and for this administration. I mean, American Airlines yesterday just came out and said that 13,000 of its employees that were going to be furloughed on April 1st, they could rip those furlough notices up. They're back to work. Their jobs were saved because of this bill. We're going to see more of that in the coming days and weeks. And check this out. Politico just put a poll out with Morning Consult. 50% of Americans think the country is on the right track. That number is rarely above water in polls. At least it hasn't been in a long time. So people are starting to feel, I think, that sense of that things are getting better. I don't know, but
I just think about Biden and I'm like, is he peaking too early? And I look at
Right.
myself and I'm like, I peaked in 9th or 10th grade maybe, and it's kind of been downhill from there. You don't want to be an early peaker. Anyway, but
Well,
I think your point
it
is
is a good
taken.
question. It is a good, in all seriousness, it is a good question, Joe, because there is that argument of like he went so hard on this. Now, is he going to be able to do anything big after this? Like, is infrastructure dead in the water, or is he going to be able to actually get something bipartisan done with that? But anyway, a question for another day, I guess.
An important story that you and I have been following: an Iowa newspaper reporter was acquitted of all charges in an extremely rare and controversial case of a journalist standing trial for just simply doing their job. Andrea Sahari was covering a Black Lives Matter protest for the Des Moines Register last summer when she was pepper sprayed and arrested for failure to disperse and interference with official acts. Despite identifying herself to police as a journalist, the local prosecutor took the case to trial, drawing outrage from advocates of press freedom around the world. After less than 2 hours of deliberation, the jury found Sahari not guilty. A story
I know
you
a lot
do
of
not expect to read in America, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, and I know that a lot of people probably don't care because it's like the media is just reviled in America. But the fact of the matter is, this was an abomination. And Jill, you were a local reporter back in the day. Like, can you imagine being arrested for covering a protest? This was just an abomination and a complete embarrassment. That DA should be fired, or at the very least just humiliated. It was just absolutely disgraceful, and I'm glad that the jury did the right thing, because that was just reprehensible. It still upsets me.
On Wall Street, the online gaming platform Roblox became the latest tech company to soar in its market debut. Shares closed up 43% on the first day of trading for a valuation of up to $42 billion, up from $4 billion a year ago. So if you've never heard of Roblox, it's probably because you are not a preteen or the parent of one. The platform is enormously popular with kids. More than half of its users are under the age of 13. Roblox's secret sauce is that it lets players also be creators by building their own online games and universes.
And then they can sell those games for in-game currency or for actual real money. I read some kids, about 250 of these Roblox players, have made more than $100,000 doing just that. Amazing. And so here's the big thing with Roblox, which is a company I didn't even really know existed until recently, until it filed to go public a few weeks ago. Of the big social networks, TikTok is the winner when it comes to the most time spent on the platform. So 58 minutes a day is the average for TikTok users. Roblox, 156 minutes. That's according to Sensor Tower. That's what, 2.5 hours? I mean, that's an incredible amount of the attention economy that this one company is able to capture. Facebook would kill for numbers like that. And by all accounts, it's a good company. They're not, from everything I've heard, they're not selling data. They have a lot of privacy restrictions and rules in place. And it's interactive. It's not just kids like playing, shoot 'em up video games. They're actually like you said, building these universes, and it's sort of like The Sims, I think.
Yeah, I think what you said about just the protections for kids and privacy and data is, I think, very real. They spent a lot of time figuring that out. So good, that definitely, I think, is a positive. But we'll see, we'll see what happens. By the way, there's this new AI tool from the genealogy site MyHeritage that is taking the internet by storm with the ability to create these uncanny animated images of people's loved ones using just an old photo. The Deep Nostalgia service shows the huge advancements that have been happening in deep fake technology, in which a person can be made to appear to say or do something that never actually happened. The results are wild and more than a little bit unsettling.
Have you played with this thing?
I have not. No.
It's like, whoa, super creepy. I don't know if you caught this. If you caught the viral deepfake of Tom Cruise that was going around on TikTok and then sort of went viral on other social media a couple of weeks ago, it's like, it looks like Tom Cruise. Like there's no way that you would be able to tell that it wasn't Tom Cruise. So, deepfakes are one of those things that I think that it's like, I'll be doing my daily walk and I'll just start thinking about them, and I'll think about how scary they could potentially be.
That's what you're thinking about on your daily walk, yes. Carlo?
Yes, sometimes. What else? I think about the news and I'm like, oh man, deepfakes, that stuff's wild. But seriously, imagine a day when somebody could create a deepfake of President Biden, right, sitting in the Oval Office announcing that we've just launched a nuclear strike at, I don't know, China. Right. Obviously, that's unlikely to happen. But I'm trying to make a point, right? The speed at which these things have evolved over the last couple of years, from being sort of these internet novelties to basically looking like reality, it should make you a little bit concerned. And there's no protections, there's no legislation, there's no policies for any of this stuff, and it's something we're going to have to grapple with in the coming years, I think.
Yeah, I mean, look, cybersecurity and just whatever this new world that we're entering of internet terrorism or whatever it is, I don't even know the name of it, is very concerning. And the fact that we had that SolarWinds hack for 9 months before it was even detected, most people who are really well read on it will say it is just kind of by luck that, or because there hasn't been a motive yet for Russia or China to just shut down our. I mean, I know this is a totally separate issue and not about deepfakes, but the fact that they haven't gone in and just shut down our power or done or something really, really devastating is just because they didn't want it yet. They can, and we're basically just a couple of minutes from total destruction. So that is the stuff that I've been a little stressed about too. Finally, today is another important anniversary. It was 10 years ago that a 9.0 earthquake, one of the largest ever recorded, struck off the coast of northern Japan. The quake created a massive tsunami that killed 18,000 people and led to a catastrophic meltdown at the Fukushima nuclear plant, which itself displaced another 500,000 Japanese people. A decade later, many of those residents still have not returned home in that 12-mile evacuation zone around Fukushima, still basically a ghost town to this day.
I remember I was working in London when this happened. It was wow, really one of the most gut-wrenching stories I've ever covered, because you watch the tsunami basically happen in real time and just take out these coastal towns. But the New York Times did a phenomenal photo essay yesterday that I put in the newsletter today. They went to Fukushima in the surrounding area and they took just photographs of what it looks like now, and it's one of those things out of a zombie, out of a that Will Smith movie where he's fighting the zombies. It's just like umbrellas in the umbrella stand from that day, and people, classrooms where the kids' homework is still on the table. But remarkable photo. So I would recommend you guys check those out today.
That was I remember covering that I was a local reporter at the time. I was at News 12, but I remember it really vividly. The water is still, I think, contaminated by that area.
Yep.
I mean, it is devastating. Just incredible. Okay, that is what you need to know for Thursday, March 11th.
See you guys tomorrow.
Crazy 1 year anniversary, Carlo.
Made it.